Welcome to That's Joy, the podcast. I'm your host, Cece Calbanero, and I'll be sharing stories of miracles, God moments, and unpacking the truth behind what joy truly means. My friend, when God gives you a direct call on your life, be sure to answer it. Here's to answering my call together. Hello, and welcome back to That's Joy, the podcast. I sure have missed saying those very lines, and today on the podcast, I'm so grateful that you hit play. If you're new around here, you might not know that we kick off every episode with a little joyful noise, and that's something that I'm excited to lean into this year. 2025 is here. Hello. But honestly, my joyful noise is the fact that I get to announce something very exciting at the end of this episode. I know, it's kind of a cliffhanger, but stick with me because I believe that is my joyful noise that's going to ring true over the course of these next 12 months. And I just can't wait to lock arms with you in this way. I know that you hit play on this episode because you're a vision girly, you're a goals driven girly, and you want to start planning for that dream that God has placed on your heart. And I'm so excited that I get to be a little fraction of a second in the grand scheme of your life that gets to help you nudge a little bit closer towards that very thing. And I know that we're going to do that today on this episode, but that's the joyful noise. Hang till the very end because trust me, you're going to be excited too. But I wanted to tell you guys, happy New Year. Happy 2025. I hope that your Christmas was so special. We got to spend it here in Nashville, and it was actually my very first Christmas away from my family. And it was so special because I got to experience it with my in-laws, who I love so much, and it was such a special time to be able to exchange gifts with them and be in person because we just weren't with them last year. So I'm excited for the new traditions, and actually by the time that I'm recording this, we'll be heading to California for New Year's, and I'm very excited for that, to be spending it with my family. And honestly, there's just nothing quite like the gift of family. And so if you have family, I hope that you're holding them close. I hope that you're letting them know how grateful you are for them, how much you love them. And it's just such a sweet time. I love this time of year so much. And I love that we get to start season 4 of That's Joy, the podcast. I can't even believe that I'm saying those words, but as I look back at our stats, I'm like, holy moly, y'all. We launched this thing in March, specifically on March 7th, 2022. And now we are heading into 2025. Like, we're going to be coming up on our 3rd birthday. I mean, what in the world? That is just so wild to me. And I feel so grateful that if you've been along for the ride at the very beginning when I launched that first episode with Trent Shelton, or maybe you came in between where I got to re-record again with Ashley Hetherington, or maybe this is one of your very first episodes and you found me through the latest summer series last year that I know so many of y'all loved. No matter where you came, or if this is actually the very first episode you're listening to, I just want to send my sincerest gratitude to you in this moment. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for clicking play on this show. I know, and I am believing that God's going to take it into new heights in 2025. And I just feel like we have to physically buckle up if you're in a car, but also spiritually buckle up, because I think, and I am believing, and I am praying, and I am working towards a lot of new guests, a lot of new conversations. And I want to allow this space to be the space that really stretches us to grow in all areas of our life, right? Like as we look at that wheel of life that I've talked about so much, of talking recreation, health and wellness, finances, friendships, family, you name it. How are we growing in each of those departments? And I hope that throughout every conversation that you hear on this show, that it would inch you closer in one of those buckets. Today, we're talking all things visions, goals, and plans, and really how to set your life into motion so that you can actually start taking action and stop sitting in the dreaming department. And here's the thing, I don't want you to hear the wrong thing. When I say the dreaming department, I think that so often we can have analysis paralysis take over us, and we end up sitting in our dreams rather than taking action for those dreams. And by the way, I'm speaking to the choir because I've been there, where I have thought about something more than I've done something about it. Can I get an amen? I mean, I know I'm not the only one who would be able to say that. I know that that's something that a lot of people struggle with. And honestly, if it was easier, a lot more people would be doing the very things that they're actually fired up to do in this life. But we don't have that, right? We have a large portion of not only the world, but our population and our society, if we're just speaking America, where you live, Nashville, where you live, Bay Area, LA, New York, I don't know where you're at, but I do know that wherever you're at, there's probably a large percentage of people around you who have set a dream, shared a dream, but are not quite living out the dream yet. And I don't want that to be us in 2025. And it's not to say that right now I'm telling you that if you listen to this episode, you are going to step into all of your dreams and live them out in 2025. That's not it. But what I do want this to do is to spark a fuse of preparation. I heard this sermon by Lyle Phillips, and I highly recommend it. I'll actually link it in the show notes because I think it's really powerful when it talks about how God challenges us to actually prepare for those dreams. Like, we have expectations for our lives is what he talked about, but it's in the preparation that actually sparks the expectations and brings the expectations to fruition. Otherwise, if we're not in the preparation, we fail our expectations, and a lot of times it leads to disappointment. And again, highly recommend you listen to the whole sermon. It's on YouTube. I'll link it down below. But we're going to talk about just 3 quick things. I love that you guys are loving these shorter episodes where they're anywhere from, let's be real, I don't know if I've launched a 15-minute episode before, but I'll call it 18-minute to 28 minutes, where you just get to listen to it on your commute, during a quick cardio session of your workout, while you're folding the laundry, whatever that looks like for you. I hope that this sparks just like a fast, quick injection so that you can run into your 2025 and stop wasting time and start taking action. The first thing that I want you to do is, friends, we've got to write down our goals. When you write down your goals, did you know that studies show that you are actually 48% more likely to achieve your goals when you write them down? I'm telling you, there is power in writing it down. I've actually been working through my evaluation of all things 2024. It's something that I've loved doing since 2020 when Taylor bought me that Cultivate What Matters planner, and I loved it so much. I actually shared it with Ashley Hetherington, and we did it together one year, but it covers the Wheel of Life. And if you're a little bit confused at this point in the episode on this whole Wheel of Life thing I keep talking about, go back a couple episodes for me on That's Joy. I cover every single section of the Wheel of Life through my summer series, and we talk about every single section. So after this episode, honestly, I know it's in the summer, but I would highly suggest that you just go back and listen to those 8 little episodes, because it'll help you kind of formulate how you want to navigate each section of your life, whether that be finances, career, friendships, family, etc. But I want you to take the time, whether that is right now when you're listening to this, or you've maybe already did a sketch, but you want to revise it. What are the goals that you have for yourself this year? I want you to list them all out without any regard. Like, just give yourself literally 20 minutes. Maybe it's right after your quiet time tomorrow morning. You're just dedicating 20 minutes. Maybe you're waking up 20 minutes extra so you can get this done. I want you to vision cast every single little goal, big goal, massive goal that is on your heart. Write it down like crazy. Okay. Now, when you do this, I want you to look at all of those goals and pinpoint what 3 of all of the goals that you listed out, what 3 goals jump out at you the most, And what 3 goals, when December 31st hits, 2025, right? We find ourselves on New Year's Eve to 2026. What will you have wished that those 3 goals were completed and over the finish line? What 3 goals are those? Then I want you to take that giant list. I want you to highlight those 3 goals, and I want you to take those 3 goals and put it somewhere where you could see it every day. I think that there's so much power in this, you guys, because it dedicates this whole idea to that SMART goal, right? What's something that is, I believe the SMART goal stands for measurable, I know is the M. Let's look it up. SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. I think that's so important because I've learned over the years of goal planning that I already actively do this, not even knowingly because it's become such a habit. But if you've never set goals before, I want you to keep those things at the forefront of your mind. Are they specific? Like, can you put a number behind it? Are they measurable, right? Like, that's, again, the number behind it, not just, I want to get healthy. But if it's, what does healthy look like to you? Is it losing an X amount of pounds? Maybe that's not you, and that's really triggering for some people. I totally get that. Then maybe it's hitting a certain amount of steps per day because that feels like absolutely something you can control. Maybe it's the amount of liquid you're drinking per day. That's a specific goal, a measurable goal that you know that you can achieve, and you know that if you do those 2 things, you will end up being healthier, right? So it goes hand in hand. I want you to think about those SMART goals and run with it in that way. And I just know that when you write it down, it is powerful. I love the verse so much in Proverbs, the book of wisdom, where it says, without a vision, the people perish. Friends, we need a vision. We are wired to look towards hope. We are wired as human beings to look for the light, to reach for the light. And I believe that when you cast your vision on your life, you are looking towards the light. And so I want you to do that for yourself because I know how incredibly powerful it is. And I shared a Instagram reel, which I will also link in the show notes, that give you a rough idea of the exact things that I go through in my journal. That way, I could really reflect to the degree at which I want to reflect on 2024, and then thoroughly plan to the degree that I want to plan for in 2025. And so those 2 things go hand in hand. It's important to turn around, see what worked, see what didn't, and look forward. Leave that behind us, but with more wisdom because we did turn around and reflect, right? And we figured out what worked and what didn't. And now we have such a clearer vision on what we want to say yes to and what we want to say no to get us closer towards those dreams and those goals that we have for ourselves. The second thing that I want you to do is align your vision with your values. In fact, I want you to ask yourself, like right now, just go with me for a second. If you have to pause this for a moment, pause it. Do what you got to do. But I want you to ask yourself, what values matter most to me? And how can my goals reflect those values? I know that for me, one of the things that I have discovered over the last couple of months and what 2024 has been like for me is the importance of people. We started the year, if you were a part of my book club, right? We read through the relationship principles of Jesus. And I love that book so much. I think it actually transformed my life to refocus and realign on relationships. And what I didn't have on my vision board for 2024 was the amount of loss that I was going to experience, and not by death, which some can argue which one is harder, which one is not. And I'm not here to debate that. But what I'm here to share is that sometimes there are things that happen, doors that shut, that you don't necessarily anticipate. And you have to, in that moment, decide how you are going to navigate it. And I have had close friendships that have fallen out in 2024. I've had working relationships that have fallen out in 2024. And of course, these are not things that I'm proud of, and they actually really sadden me. But I do know, and I trust and believe, and I always have and always will, that what's for me will never pass me. And so when I say those very words, I believe that that drips into every area of my life. What's for me will never pass me. And there are certain moments throughout the year as I look back at 2024 where I got really caught up with work and maybe could have realigned a touch more with my values of what I value most, which number one for me is relationships. That means number one is my relationship with God. What does that look like? What does that feel like? How am I pouring into that relationship? Because it is an active, live relationship that you are pouring into, whether that is through your quiet time in the mornings, whether that's through listening to worship music over any other music during your commute. I'm not perfect at this at all, my friends. But what I am telling you is that majority of the year, because I have committed to making that a goal one year, it has then snowballed into being so much of a habit. And then my routine, right? And so there are days where I've fallen short still, even though it's a habit and even though it's a routine in my life, but it's something that I want to make sure that I'm keeping at the forefront looking at 2025, because I know that's something that I value most. Second to that is my husband. How are we pouring into each other, right? Are we committed to date nights? Are we committed to making sure that we're not scrolling right before bed and in our beds as we're coexisting next to each other? Are we talking? What does our mornings look like? What do our meals look like? Are we scrolling during those moments? I think the more that you're with someone, the more it could be so easy to just allow those little things to fall away. But I want to make sure that if this is the most important value for me, I am making sure that I'm stewarding it in the best way possible. Again, imperfectly, but because it's at the forefront, I'm going to prioritize it. Right after that's family and friends. So what does that look like? How am I plugging in more moments throughout not only my days, but my weeks, my months, and my year, where I'm making sure that we're planning trips. I'm making sure that I'm putting in my calendar phone calls. I'm making sure that I'm texting friends on a regular basis that I love and admire, that I want to make sure I'm nurturing those friendships. Those are some of my values that matter most to me. And friends, if you don't prioritize and ask yourself what matters most to you, then guess what? Life will life, and it will come in and fill every other gap that you have not blocked out for yourself. And when I say life lives, what I really mean, and I think some of you know this, is that the enemy always comes in to kill, steal, and destroy. And so I think he will move and try his best to fill the gaps that you haven't blocked out, to then take up more room of anxiety, to take up more room of fear, to take up more room of stress. And we just won't have that in 2025. We don't have time for that in 2025, right? So I want you to write those things down and then highlight them, put them in a place where you can see them. I have a vision board of mine, and so that's something that I love doing, but I want you to do that thing, okay? The third thing that I want you to do is make a plan. I want you to break it down, break all your goals down into action steps, right? And so for instance, I already shared with you, let's keep it in the health realm, right? I always suggest, if you have never worked with a nutrition coach, to hire a nutrition coach if this is a big goal of yours. In 2020, I gained a bit of weight and I knew that I had to do something about it. And the reality is that I graduated with a public health degree. I took enough nutrition classes to know that I need to be eating less calories than what I was eating, right? Like that's just the cold, short version of the complexity of nutrition. But I realized that I needed to be eating more fruits, vegetables, whole foods, and I needed to be moving my body more than I was. But I needed accountability. And back in 2021, I knew that I was willing and able to invest in that if that was actually a priority for me. So that's when I hired my nutrition coach, Reagan Davis, who actually I'm working with again, but just on a way tailored back scale. But again, I need accountability again, because I don't think that you can ever outgrow the need to have others hold you accountable, whether that be in business, business and life coaching, whether that be in therapy, whether that be in mentorship and discipleship, or whether that be in the health and wellness space. I think that there's always room for someone to help hold you accountable to get you to that next level. Because the truth is, I'm working with Reagan again, I'm going to reach a new level, right? But that doesn't mean that I just stop there for life. I'm sure that in 2 to 3 years, I may need that again to take me to the next level of whatever that looks like for me and whatever that looks like for you. And I don't want to put anything on you, but I'm just giving that as an example because health and wellness is so close to all of us. It's something that we should all be stewarding well and making a number one priority in our life, because if we don't have our health, then we have nothing, right? We can't make the memories, we can't make the phone calls, we can't be here in the way that we are being called to be here. So that is so important. And I hope that you, if you haven't already made that a priority in the past, that this is the year that you do that. This is an health and wellness episode though, so we'll save that for an upcoming one in case you need to hear that as a solo episode in itself. But I want you to share just timelines, choosing accountability partners, and then making sure that you're celebrating the small wins. I always challenge my friends whenever they tell me idea. I ask them, when are you launching it? What's the date? Because all of my best friends and I, they all are dreamers. They're all building something, whether they have a 9 to 5, they're building something on the side. I've just cultivated a community around me where that's what my friendships look like. And I love it so much. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that we had a vision day back in December, and I loved it because we all went in and had hot seats for each other's dreams. And we tackled just certain roadblocks that we had personally with each other. And we were able to pour into each other and ask vulnerable questions. It was amazing. I love that stuff so much. And it's not too late to do that either. Utilize January to lean into those conversations with your people. And it's not too late. I don't want you to think because you missed January 1st, well, now you're throwing it in the towel already. January 1st is a date. This is the start of your life. Whenever you hit play on this episode, it is the start of your life. And right now is a perfect time to change something you don't like. I love the quote that I came across last year so much. It says, whatever you're not changing, you are choosing. Whatever you are not changing, you are choosing. So really think about that as you're navigating your life this year, specifically this week and this month. What are those things that really frustrate you, that get you riled up or upset, or that make you think, gosh, I wish that I could change that thing? It's time to change it. It's time to not overcomplicate it, and it's time to put action behind those very things and change it. Because whatever you are not changing, you are choosing. I want you to really remember that. And those are the 3 things. I don't want to give you too much. I want you to just listen to this. And if you've never written down goals before, this is the first time you're going to do it. I want you to text me a picture. And when I mean text, I no longer mean text. I'm going to share those details shortly, but I want you to DM it to me on Instagram. I want to see it, and I want to share a bunch of it. I won't put your name on it, but I would love to see your goals. I love goals so much. And so I would love to see your goals and what you have on your heart for this year. We're going to move into the updates now. Friends, it saddens me to say, but with growth means trimming of the things, right? This is biblical. We know that there's a refining that takes place, and we know that pruning has to happen. And so as I was looking at the podcast and looking at the different things that I'm growing in 2025 underneath the CC brand, I know that the text community is honestly something that I pay for monthly, just full transparency. And I just can't nurture it in the way that I need to nurture it and need to show up for you guys. And so, one, we are going to stop the text community in 2025, but hold the phone. That means that we get to spend more time on the email list and more time on Instagram, which is where a lot of us hang out anyways. And I really want all of us, like if you listen to That's Joy, I want you to be a part of my broadcast channel. I believe I named it the Joy Corner, but you can go to my Instagram profile and join the broadcast channel. I want to be posting in there far more consistently and actually like be able to see your guys' responses on a week-to-week basis. So No more text to That's Joy. We're shutting down the number and we are going to the email list. So if you're not on my email list yet, that's the Joy Corner. And you can subscribe to that. And then in addition to that, if you want even more touch points from your girl, then you're going to head over to my Instagram broadcast channel. Another very, very exciting addition to 2025 is that your girl is launching a YouTube channel. I know that for a lot of friends who listen to That's Joy, you've probably jumped over the YouTube and have seen the sparingly amount of That's Joy podcast episodes that I have filmed. And honestly, that was a beast of its own, trying to juggle that and put it into YouTube week by week while also doing the podcast, while also having a 9-to-5 job and clients on the side and so on and so forth, right? But all of those things aside, we're going to give That's Joy its own YouTube channel where you can watch YouTube videos. But on top of that, we're going vlog style. And I am so excited. If you haven't watched it yet, my very first video already came out on January 2nd. And it's all about leaving the 9-to-5 and going to become a full-time content creator. Now, for the friends who are listening right now, you're like, wait, what? You left your 9-to-5? Yes, that happened back in November and over the month of December. That's a large reason why I slowed down podcast episodes and I didn't really tell you guys that the season was ending or that we weren't going to do any weekly episodes in December. It's because honestly, I had a bit of whiplash from trying to figure out what we were going to do, Jonathan and I, with work and what we're building. And then two, I just took the time to be building behind the scenes. And so that's what I'm doing. We're launching a YouTube channel and I'm hoping to have, at the very minimum, there will be bi-weekly videos every Thursday, but what I'm aiming for are videos every Thursday. And these videos are going to be separate to the podcast. So you're just going to get even more of Cece. Think about this. It's a podcast, but like you get to see my life simultaneously, because one thing about me is I'm a preach, whether it's through video or a podcast mic, I just can't help myself. You're going to get a taste of what it feels like to do life with me and Jonathan and our family and friends. And I'm really excited to share just a portion of my life in that way. I know that it's scary in a lot of ways. I know that there are a lot of question marks about just what this will look like and how I will turn content creation into an income and into a job, because quite frankly, the truth is I'm not going to apply for another 9-to-5 job. And I'm going to step into this full time. And so I would love your prayers around that too. And any encouragement you have for me. I'm all ears at all times, but that is a very big life update, joyful noise that I just could not wait to share with you guys. So thank you for listening to the very end of this episode to hear that. Last thing I'll say is that if you have any guests that you want to hear from in 2025 or episodes that you want to hear more of this year, like topics or anything like that, will you DM me on Insta? Like, I genuinely want to know what those things are and take a lot of those direct responses and turn them into podcasts. I'll even give you a shout out too if I end up using your very topic on the podcast. And so I'm so fired up to do that. And just know that the guests that are going to be coming on, I want more professionals on here. I want more people who even may not even fully be on fire for Jesus, but are either believe in God or thought about believing in God. I want them to sit next to me too. I want to open up our table, because that's the best thing that we can do, right? Is pull up a seat for everyone to sit. And I think that we could all learn from everyone. And so I'm excited to just hear different angles of people's expertise, how they've gotten to where they've gotten. I have this idea of doing like a I Built This series where people have shared how they built what they built. And I want to challenge them and ask them about their faith and if they know God. And I think that it will be a really special way of making heaven more crowded. And so I hope that you stick with me. I hope that you join me in all of these things. And remember, there's no more text community, but what you can do now is join the Joy Corner. Subscribe to my weekly newsletter. It's in the show notes below, but you can go to thatsjoypodcast.com. If you're not following me on Instagram yet, you can follow me at CCALBONERO on Instagram and on TikTok, and you can follow That's Joy the Podcast. And now on YouTube. If you have not yet subscribed, rated, or left a review for That's Joy, it would mean the world if you took 2 seconds to run to the review section, type out what you love about the show, leave a 5 stars, then run over to Spotify, hit that 5-star button. It means so much. And actually, I don't know if you knew this, it's one of the biggest ways that you can help podcasters grow, because the truth is this platform is free. So truthfully, I haven't made $1 from the podcast yet. I'm not worried about that because I know God has it covered, but I'm excited for you to hear more about that. So if you've not yet done that, do that. And if you have even the smallest desire to meet the creator of the universe, or if you've already been saved but you're not really free, as always, I invite you to sit at the table of plenty with me and so many others. I'm telling you, there's abundance here. There's overflow here. There's so much joy here. I'm here to tell you that God is for you. All you have to do is invite him into your heart right now. He's waiting for you. He wants to meet with you. And I am so proud of you. If you just made that decision, I'd love to know you. Shoot me a DM on Instagram. Thank you so much for being here, friends. It is going to be one beautiful year. I trust and I believe that, and I'm praying that over every single one who listens to That's Joy. I love you. God loves you. And until next time, I'll talk to y'all next time. Thank you so much for being here.